I was born in Nanaimo on August 25, 1930, to Elizabeth Bessie White and William Bill Smith. I was christened Joan Glorana at St. Andrew's United Church in Nanaimo on Raleigh Day, October 5th, 1930. St. Andrew's was where my parents were married, where my grandfather sang in the choir, and my grandmother was a life member of the Women's Missionary Society. I went to Sunday school there on Sunday mornings, and then in the afternoon to the Sunday school at the Foursquare Gospel Hall, where I collected cards for memorizing Bible verses. So many little ones were traded for a larger card, and so many larger cards were earned and traded for a much larger card that I got to keep. One of the first hymns I remember learning as a very small child was "Jesus Bids Us Shine," complete with the actions. I was an explorer and later a CGIT, Canadian Girl in Training, and a leader at Camp Firkin back in the days when Dr. Rodden was the minister at First United Church. I tell you these things so that you will know how church, with all its activities, was a way of life for me. When my family moved to Vancouver, we all became involved in the life of Dunbar Heights United Church. And then when I outgrew Sunday school, I became a Sunday school teacher and went to young people's, where my friends and I met and married boys, also members of the group. I made my first trip to Europe in 1953 for the coronation, and on my return picked up where I had left off at Dunbar Heights United, met Murray MacDonald, who was teaching Sunday school there, and as they say, the rest is history. We were married on September 10th, 1955, and in 1958 bought our first home on number 1 road in Richmond, where we became active members of the Gilmore Park United Church. I started the Explorers Group, and Murray was the church treasurer. A busy job as the congregation struggled to build a meeting place before erecting the sanctuary. In the backyard of our home, I grew flowers to decorate the church on Sundays. I think she's carried that right through her whole life. She left flowers at the front of our church very consistently. Bruce was brought home to the house on number 1 road and attended Explorers with me in a carryall parked in the corner at the meeting room. 3 years later, when Anne arrived, the house was just too small, and we all moved to Larch and 16th Avenue in Vancouver. Then 10 years later, to Kerrisdale, Canadian Memorial United Church and Shaughnessy Heights United became our new church homes. I had worked in the general office of Woodward's department store after graduation from Lord Byng High School, and later was a stay-at-home mom. One very busy Saturday, I was shopping in Gold's Linens on South Granville Street when a chance remark led to being hired by Mr. Gold as a Saturday clerk, and Murray was put in charge for 1 day a week while I sold fabrics to home sewers. Later in 1973, I went to work for Don Armitage and his group of sign companies. What began as a couple of days a week soon became a full-time. As corporate secretary of the companies with internal audit responsibilities, I was required to travel to the company offices across Canada and Washington State. A hard requirement, I'm sure. One of the wonderful perks Mr. Armitage offered his senior employees was an annual bonus of airline tickets to exotic places in the world. Murray and I had many memorable trips, often with Ethel and Dawn, to places like South Africa, China, Portugal, Morocco, Europe, Greece, and Mexico. And after the bonuses stopped with retirement, we were too smitten to stop the travels. In England and Scotland, India, Alaska, Singapore, Burma, Bali, New Zealand, Egypt, and Russia are a few of the many more holidays enjoyed before Murray passed away suddenly in 1998. I may have lost my travel buddy, but not my enjoyment of exploring more new places. I was fortunate to visit Peru, Ecuador, and the Galapagos Islands, Alaska again, and the Caribbean Islands. In 1986, on October 15, Murray's birthday, the day after Expo closed, we moved to Tawasin, just across the street from the Armitages on Jackson Way. For several years, we commuted to Shaughnessy Heights, but eventually became members here at Tawasin United, and we're thankful she did. When my mother and dad were finally persuaded to move here from Salt Spring Island, they transferred their membership to TUC. And as my mother often said, it's the friendliest church I have ever attended. I should have had her in her public relations. The bench by the front door is in memory of Bessie and Bill Smith and Murray MacDonald. 8 years after Murray died, I remarried. Hugh Morris was an old friend, alone after losing his wife, Pat, a sorority sister of mine. We packed a lot of living into the 6 years we had together before Hugh passed away 2 days before Christmas 2012. We had traveled to Chile, Turkey, and the waterways of Eastern Europe, Alaska, and many places closer to home, like Santa Fe in Mexico, where we bought the Armitage's condo in Puerto Vallarta. Unfortunately, a dream trip to South Africa, Hugh's home for several years after the war had forced him to leave Burma, where he was born, had to be canceled when his health failed. Hugh's service was held in this church, as was Murray's and my mother's. Twice a year, I put planters of flowers and shrubs by the bench in memory to welcome people coming into TUC. You'll also notice on the bulletin, under Joan's picture, there's a small writing, a small few lines. This was also written in Joan's mother's and grandmother's service program. So another continuing recognition of those gifts of family. Mother and Murray are interned in the memorial garden where they are wished a loving hello on Sunday mornings as I pass by. As a verb, I'm known as Mrs. Neat and Tidy. Fussy, with a question mark? Perhaps house proud. I wish I could be laid back, but it isn't the way that I was made. However, I am known also to be fiercely loyal to family and friends, as well as extremely a proud Canadian. I joined Beta Sigma Phi sorority in 1954, and am still active. But while I retain my membership in the Daughters of the Nile, I am no longer able to attend meetings. My family has also had a close relationship with the Masonic Order. My brother was the Imperial Potentate of the Shrine of North America, and as a member, Murray enjoyed working for the Shriners Hospital for Children. Life has been wonderful and kind to me, and I've been blessed to have Bruce and Anne nearby, supporting and caring for me in my later years. Now that my health isn't so good, I feel very fortunate to have many dear friends, near and far, and to be part of the caring congregation at TUC, my church home. And a thank you for all coming today and sharing this time together. And the family wishes also to thank the staff at Nurse Next Door and Annika Whiterock for their support and care of Joan in these last few years. The attention of each and every one over these many years has been a gift to Joan, and she thanks you. These are Joan's words. They're her story, part of her story, the life that she saw as significant, very significant for her. And as we hear in the beginnings to the story of the time in the life of the church, her faithfulness, her commitment, and her continuing right up to her last days, coming here as often as she could with support. It was wonderful to see her and to welcome her each time.